All right, hello everybody. It's been quite a while since I have been here. I've actually been out sick for about 5 weeks. So I have not done many videos due to really sore throat and kind of a really bad sounding voice. So I'm back now and I am here for the Iron Crafter Challenge today. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using one of my scrap room kits, and it's the very last bit of my scrap room kit. It uses Simple Stories Let's Go collection, and I've had this for quite a while, maybe like last fall or so, or last summer. I don't even remember exactly when. But I have 3 papers left. I have a little bit of this airplane paper with a bit of map on the back. I have these tags paper, the geotags paper, and on the back it's got these polka dots and florals. And then I have the striped paper along with all of the cool little airline tags. So, and I also have a piece of Basil Cream Puff cardstock. So I don't know for sure if I'm going to use every single paper for my design, but I'm going to try to use up the vast majority of this kit and get it done. Along with that, I have a bunch. This didn't all come with the scrap room kit. I think the thing that did come with it was this. This is what I have left of the scrap room kit. The rest of it, I just had different parts of the Let's Go collection from, I don't know, going shopping, doing whatever. So I have frames, which I don't think I'm going to use today, but I have those in case I want some. I have the chipboard stickers, and there's a bunch in there. They just kind of fell off and they're in the back there. I have the bits and pieces pack and quite a bit of that left. And I also have the decorative brads. So, but our challenge today for the Iron Crafter Challenge was to use ribbon or trim of some sort. So I've got this lacy trim that I got in one of my 49 in Market kits. And so I'm going to try to incorporate some of this lacy trim into my design today. So I'm going to use that as something I don't use very often, which I don't. I think I've used this like one time and that's about it. So, so that's that. For my pictures, I'm going to scrap a couple of pictures of my husband and I when we went to Grand Canyon last summer. And I thought that would be perfect with this kit, obviously, because this is a travel themed kit and this was traveling that we did there. So I am going to use, well, we'll see when I come back. I'll let you know once I figure out what exactly I am going to do for this layout. So give me a second to kind of work through my design and I'll be back.
Okay, so to start, I want to get my background pretty well figured out. And I've decided off camera that I was pretty sure I wanted to use the striped paper and the airplane paper. I wasn't quite sure yet about the geotags paper, but I knew for sure I wanted this stripe and this airplane. So I decided on the striped paper that I wanted to tear it, and my tear got a little away from me here, as you can see. It got a little bit thick, so all you have to do is just kind of rip off those little white pieces and then it won't be quite so thick. And I do want to layer that on top of the airplane paper, which I cut straight, and then in a minute you're gonna see, or else I already did it. I can't remember if I cut this part or not, but I do scuff up the edges of both pieces, both the striped piece and the airplane paper. So you just saw me cut a piece of that trim, and I'm going to use that along the edge of the airplane paper. But first I wanted to take a little bit of my Stampin' Up! Ink in River Rock, and I'm going to do a little stenciling using a Vicky Bouton stencil that I've had in my stash. I just wanted there to be almost kind of like an earthy tone, excuse me, back in the background behind where I'm going to put my photos and have a lot of my embellishment clusters. So I wanted to do a little bit of that with the stenciling, just a tiny bit of mixed media back there. By the time I get done, you don't really see a ton of it, but it's there enough so that it gives a little bit of interest to that background, and it's not just that creamy picture, or I'm sorry, creamy paper. It's kind of late at night when I'm doing this voiceover, so excuse me for getting my words wrong. Here I am doing that scuffing of both of those papers here, and I'm going to put them about there on the page. And then, like I said, I'm going to show you in a second, I'm going to use this trim along the edge of that airplane paper. So instead of another sheet of paper, another print there, I'm just going to use this lacy trim. When I held it up there against the creamy cardstock, I didn't quite like the bright white against that background color, so I decided to use a little bit of that River Rock ink from Stampin' Up and just like dirty up the ribbon, or I'm sorry, the trim just a little bit. It just took away that starkness from it. You really can't even tell when you're looking at it that I really did much of anything with the color. It just kind of takes that stark brightness away from it, and it blends in better with that background paper. And I actually like that because while I wanted that texture and that, you know, kind of that feel of that lace there, I didn't want it to stand out so much that it seemed like it didn't fit in. So I think that kind of muddying it up with that color was the right idea. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to map my photos. I'm going to do first on the back of the airplane paper. Oh, sorry. Again, like I said, it's late, so now I'm yawning. And on the back of that airplane paper was the map paper. So I used that first, and I sat it down here on my layout to see if I thought like that was enough. But I really wanted a color that was going to maybe just highlight my photos just a little bit more. So I did decide to use this Geotags paper, mostly for the yellow, the deep dark yellow along the outside of it. And I think that that did the trick of really helping to make my photos stand out against the papers. So I'm taking a little bit more of that River Rock ink from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to add some splatters just to, again, add a little bit of interest to the background and to, I don't know, I just felt like it needed to be dirtied up just a little bit more. If you've never used Stampin' Up inks, the best way to do something like splatters is you squeeze that ink pad together against the top, and then you'll get a bit of ink on the top of the cover for the pad, and then you can add just a tiny bit of water and do your splatters. It works really well. Okay, so here I'm just getting into my ephemera, and as you can see, I'm really not a fan of non-scuffed up edges. I tend to scrap a little more. I don't know if you would call it vintage. I'm not really sure if that's the right word to use, but I like things that look like they're worn or dirtied up. So does vintage work? I don't even know. So I do tend to scuff up the edges of pretty much everything. And here I left in some of it so that you guys could see how I do like these finer little pieces of ephemera. I like to use my scissors rather than my scuffing tool on these because I feel like I have a little more control when I hold my scissors and I'm on something a little more delicate. Like even on those flags, I did the little flagpole, and it was easy to control, you know, how much pressure I was putting onto everything. So just a little tip for you, if you're doing something a little finer, you can use your small scissors, and that'll help you keep a little more control. So for the moment, like I said, I'm just pulling in ephemera. Off camera, I did go through and I didn't feel like you needed or wanted to watch me like dig through the ephemera for this. So I did pull together what I wanted off camera. And so I'm able to just do the little, I'm able to just do my little clusters. And there's a lot, like I said, of travel themed things in there. And then I also used for my title, I used the chipboard. And now I pulled in a couple, well, I think it's just one little puffy sticker I put up at the top. It's a little suitcase. And now I'm getting into those adhesive brads. And I'm using the bigger ones, kind of like flare. And then the smaller ones, I'm going to use almost like enamel dots. So, I mean, they've got like that silver outline on them, and then they're real shiny inners. So instead of my enamel dots, I just used these adhesives, brads. Up here on the top, I kind of play around a little bit with it because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted it to look like, but I do settle with that there. And so now I have all my brads on. And here, what am I doing? Oh, I'm playing with one more of the bigger brads. I kind of toyed with the idea of putting it on the title, but it covered up too much so that you couldn't really tell it was an A. So I decided to stick it down there in that bottom cluster that has more of all the little travel theme things. Here I'm playing around with this tag, and I really like it, and I really felt like I needed something on that side of the photo. I don't want a lot because I already have big enough clusters over on the right hand side above the photo and then below in the corner, but I just felt like there needed to be something over here on the other side of that picture of my husband and I. So I do decide to use that tag. I just pulled it out for a second because I'm scuffing it up, and then I'm gonna almost like just kind of fit it under the corner there. And then I really wanted to use this puffy geotag. And so I am going to use the geotag puffy, but I am not going to use that travel chipboard. I really, really wanted to because it's one of my favorite pieces with this collection, but it just didn't work right anywhere I tried to put it. So I've put it aside and I'll use it on another layout at another time. But I did have over on the side, I had this little compass sitting there that I really liked, and I'd pulled out and was going to use in one of my other clusters, but then I didn't end up using it. So I pulled it out over here and really liked how it looked next to that geotag. I think it's perfect, and I think it brings in a little bit of that green color, which I really, really like over there where there's mostly orange and yellow, which ironically was mainly what was in that tag and the geotag as well. I had one little puffy of a little car with some luggage on the top, so I decided that looked really cute right there, so I decided to leave him right there. Okay, Cian, am I finished yet? I don't think I'm quite finished yet. Let me see. Yep, I'm going to add some more splatters over top of my clusters, so I'm going to go ahead and cover up my photos with a piece, with some packaging, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some more of that River Rock ink, and I'm just going to splatter it over my clusters just a little bit to give some of that little messy look, you know, that I love so much. And then I think we're going to be pretty much finished here, guys. This was a pretty quick layout. I didn't want to put too much into it. I wanted it to be a little simpler. It may not look so simple because I did use a lot of ephemera, but for me, this was a pretty simple and very quick layout. So here's a little bit of close-up for you. I did end up adding dimension to those, a lot of those pieces of ephemera. So I hope you all enjoyed. Please make sure you stop in and go to the playlist and see what everybody else did for this challenge with their ribbon and trim. I hope you all got some inspiration today, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.